You either gonna have standards or you gonna have a man. But you ain't gonna have both.
When I was younger, and I used to see people in my family, or just people in general, have these 20, 30, 40-year marriages, right? When I was younger, I used to be like, wow, I want something like that. Like, I want to be so in love with somebody that I'm with them for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and we die together. I used to think that what held marriages together for that long was true love. And of course, communication, understanding, sacrifice, all those things. Let me tell y'all what really holds marriages together. Women just putting up with shit.
So this video is all about a response that a lady made to another video where the first creator stated that you either have a standard or you have a man, that you cannot have both. So it's either you have a standard and be manless, or you have a man and lower your standard, or don't have a standard at all. So she made a reply to that video, and she talked about the fact that over the years she has observed the marriages of people around her, those that have long marriages, and she found that a lot of time those that have long marriages have it because the woman puts up with the BS of the husband. And people had quite a lot of things to say about that. So we're going to check out their reaction, and then I'll come back with my commentary. So let's check out people's comments. Let's check out people's reaction to the video that she made, and then we'll discuss afterwards.
You either gonna have standards or you gonna have a man. But you ain't gonna have both.
When I was younger, and I used to see people in my family, or just people in general, have these 20, 30, 40-year marriages, right? When I was younger, I used to be like, wow, I want something like that. Like, I want to be so in love with somebody that I'm with them for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and we die together. I used to think that what held marriages together for that long was true love. And of course, communication, understanding, sacrifice, all those things. Let me tell y'all what really holds marriages together. Women just putting up with shit. That's all it is. When you understand that all it takes to keep a man is for you to constantly be forgiving bullshit and constantly be like, oh, okay, I don't want to lose him, so I'm gonna forgive this, I'm gonna forgive that. That's all a long marriage is just a woman constantly putting up with shit. That's all it is. You not leaving him because he did this, and that's all a long-term marriage is. And that's why when these dumb men be in my comments talking about, you're going to be single forever, you're going to die alone, you're going to die with your cats, I'll be like, good for me, good for me. If the alternative is having to put up with you, nigga, good for me. Like, keeping a man is not an achievement. Keeping a man low-key be sometimes a failure for a lot of y'all. I'm just saying it.
You either gonna have standards or you gonna have a man. But you ain't gonna have both.
I have a good news for y'all girlies. You can have a man and you can have standards. Don't let all the other girlies fool you into thinking that you cannot have high standards and also find a high value man who will respect and who will meet all your... That's drama agreeing with me. You can. Let me tell you this. You can. It is possible. And it comes from somebody that grew up with a dad that was loving. He loves my mom to death. And because I saw him being so loving, being such a freaking kind man, I never stopped believing. There are a lot of men like that out there. A lot. Not underestimate them. Men are capable of doing way more than you think they are. You do not have to put up with shit just to keep a man. If that guy messes up, well, guess what? There are tons of other men out there. Do not settle. Do not settle, okay?
20, 30, 40-year marriages, right? When I was younger, I used to...
Nah, what you saying, though, is completely facts, though. But you can't sit here and act like it's one-sided. I know a dude right now, married 35 years. And for 35 years, he ain't never touched another woman's shoulder. But for 35 years, his woman has cheated, committed infidelity, committed adultery. You name it, she did it. You feel me? What we need to do is stop pointing the finger at each other. because it's not getting us nowhere. We understand that both men and women got a lot of work to do and a lot of improvement. So now what's the solution? You feel me? We going back and forth saying women ain't shit, men ain't shit, but ain't nobody trying to figure out a solution. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't even gonna hold you. I still look forward to having an old lady, wife, kids, a family. You know what I'm saying? I still look forward to all that. Shout out to that boy Scarface. He made a video probably a couple of days ago, and he was saying how, like, he was talking to the man saying how, like, y'all don't look forward to getting married one day. Y'all don't look forward to settling down. And the answer to that question is hell yeah. I look forward to the ups and downs, the vacations, the staycations. You feel me? The arguments, you know what I'm saying? The good times, the bad times, the excitement. You feel me? All that. Am I saying I'm going to put up with infidelity and adultery? No. So, with that being said, what's the solution? First, we got to understand that instant gratification is a real thing. Your spirit and flesh is forever at war with each other. Your flesh wants worldly things, your spirit wants godly things. 2, you got to be accountable. You got to have self-awareness. You got to have discipline. You got to be empathetic. But most importantly, you got to have the Most High God. And we got to understand that temptation is a real thing. And it started in the mind. You feel me? Again, your flesh want one thing and your spirit want another thing. You know what I'm saying? And all that's doing is causing temptation. But again, it started in the mind. So if you out here thinking about something, you feel me? You may not act on it, but you already, if you thinking about it, you know what I'm saying? It's a slight chance that eventually you can't act on it.
That's
so
true.
when you feel your mind begin to think about something you should not be thinking about because it's a sin or it's temptation or it's something that your flesh wants, you got to be able to fight that. Okay, how do we fight that? How do we get that urge? You gotta pray. You gotta focus on praying. You gotta focus on fasting. You gotta focus on, you know what I'm saying, like a lot of things that can get your mind to another level. You feel me? I can't really explain it, you know what I'm saying, but it's a reason why fasting is one of the most important things when it comes to self-discipline. Being able to fight the urge of not eating for 2, 3, 4, 5 days is a very, very, you know what I'm saying, important thing. Because at this point, you starving right now. Your stomach eating yourself, so you ain't even thinking about what you was thinking about before. Another important thing, counseling. That is very important. My uncle put me on that. You feel me? All praises to that boy. Counseling. You feel me? Stop putting bullshit ass people into your business. But yeah, that's about it though. Blow this video up and I'll do a part 2.
You either gonna have standards or you gonna have a man. But you ain't gonna have both.
Let me tell y'all what really holds marriages together. Women just putting up with shit. That's all it is.
I almost agree with this take, but this reminds me that we really need to be mindful of the content that we consume. And this is no tea, no shade to either one of these creators. I just want to tell y'all my opinion on people who project on this internet. A lot of the opinions that we see online are simply just projections. Most of these people are speaking from a place of hurt, or they are simply just regurgitating things that they see other people who trauma dump on social media, kind of like internalize that. And as someone who has been single for a very, very long time, that some of the points that she made in her video kind of made sense. But also, I've never been married, nor have I been in like a healthy, successful relationship. I really had to take a step back to see, am I relating to her content because of the hurt that I experienced in the past? I'm not really looking at it from a clear headspace. I was looking at it from a biased standpoint. Even though I didn't grow up with the best example of a healthy marriage, I still don't think it's impossible to find that. I do still believe that there are men that are competent, who are emotionally mature, and who are just decent human beings. I am guilty of feeding into this all men are trash narrative. But at the end of the day, as crazy as this may sound in this day and age, I still believe that I could have standards and still have the man. Not only any man, but like a man that respects me. It all boils down to who we choose as a partner. And who we choose has more to do with us than it does the horrible partner. Just because y'all choose poor quality partners doesn't mean the rest of us are going to end up with poor partners. Because one thing I'm not about to let y'all do is convince me that out of the billions of people on this planet, that there's not a handful of men that want what I want and are respectable people. Y'all not about to convince me of that. Although that may be the reality of some women who end up in these 15, 20, 30-year marriages with horrible partners, that's not in my ministry. My God, the God I talk to every day, he ain't about to do me like that, because we have discernment over here. Y'all are just watching miserable people who come online and put fear into your hearts about marriage. The whole time, that's not even what marriage is about at all. So what I need for y'all to do is to take social media out of y'all's relationships and take social media out of your reality and replace that with God. And don't forget to touch grass. Okay, bye.
Of course, communication, understanding, sacrifice, all those things.
The funniest thing is, these young ladies are all single. They are all people that think that they know how to endure and handle something, but when they are put to the ultimate test, which is, can you share your life with someone else? Can you learn how to be self-sacrificial? Can you put someone else first? Have you recognized that marriage is ministry? Have you recognized that in ministry you're going to deal with all kinds of spirits? And have you recognized that marriage was ordained and orchestrated first by God? If you haven't grasped these simple, fundamental things, you shouldn't even be speaking on marriage. And then the funniest thing is, I look in the comments and I see so many women talking about how they were in 16-year, 20-year prisons. But guess what? If your institution of marriage had become a prison, that says a lot about you and the partner that you picked. I then went through the comments and seen other couples saying that their husband is their best friend and that they're really thankful for their spouse, and they're seeing all these horror stories and all these horrible comments, and they are so sad for these other women. That says a lot about your picking style. Ladies, you chose to prioritize the things that were important to you in marriage, and therefore the person that you picked and that picked you two have an understanding of who you will be for one another. Many people don't do that. Many people aren't transparent. Many people don't put themselves out there as vulnerable. And many people hide themselves until married and then expect the person to receive them after they've already deceived them. That is insane. And unfortunately, many young people today do not grasp the concept that marriage is going to pull all of your insecurities to the forefront. And those are things that you've been paired with this partner, this person to actually learn how to overcome. Marriage is about conquering things. When you go to your employer, you're going to have team building exercises if you work at a company that cares about you guys being a team and working unified. And those team building exercises usually consist of a problem that's presented to you. And as a team, you guys are required to resolve it. That's what marriage is. It's overcoming. It's conflict resolution. It is binding together, seeing purpose, seeing the future, and allowing the ministry of God to be the third cord within that two strands, creating a cord that is not easily broken. If you don't have God in the marriage, you failed. If you don't recognize that marriage is about overcoming, you failed. If you don't recognize that marriage is about learning to put someone else before yourself, even when you don't want to, you failed. If you don't recognize that marriage is about pulling out the things that are ugly about you and bringing them to the forefront so you have the ability to address them and better yourself, you failed. Marriage is not for the weak. And sadly, most of today's people are weak as heck. You can't stand through anything. You bow before everything. And if it's not instantly done, like you put everything in the microwave, then you think it's not worth it. I am so glad I was raised by my grandmother so that I knew that you have to put the work in. So that I was taught that you have to stand on principle and morality, even if that means you stand by yourself. And I was also raised biblically, so I recognize that we're living in a time now where all of the things that were once considered right, because we were actually within right standing before God, are now going to be deemed as wrong. And the things that are wrong are going to be said to be right. It's scripture, look it up. And that says a lot about the people. You've gotten so far away from God that you can't even see the God in things. But I'm gonna mind my business over here with my husband that I'm doing life with.
When I was younger and I used to see people in my family, or just people in general, have these 20, 30, 40-year marriages, right? When I was younger, I used to be like, wow, I want something like that. Like, I want to be so in love with somebody that I'm with them for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and we die together. I used to think that what held marriages together for that long was true love. And of course, communication, understanding, sacrifice, all those things. Let me tell y'all what really holds marriages together. Women just putting up with shit. That's all it is. When you understand that all it takes to keep a man is for you to constantly be forgiving bullshit and constantly be like, oh, okay, I don't want to lose him, so I'm gonna forgive this, I'm gonna forgive that. That's all a long marriage is.
If your perspective on marriage is only on the negatives and the fact that you might have to put up with ish, then don't get married. If you lack the fortitude, the drive, the resilience, the long-suffering, and the patience needed to maintain a healthy marriage, do not get married. Because you know what I've noticed that this generation truly lacks? Endurance. When things get hard, we automatically just quit. This job is not doing it for me. It's not serving me. I quit. This relationship is no longer serving me. I quit. That's the new term they're using now. When we no longer see what we can get out of things, instead of making the situation better, we remove ourselves. We lacked conflict and resolution. We just quit when things get hard. Any relationship worth having is going to take work and effort to maintain, but it's up to you to determine which relationships are worth doing that for the long run. Because we all have ish to put up with, not just in marriages, but with our friends, even with our family. And it's also a two-way street. It's not just you having to put up with his ish. He has to put up with your ish too. Yeah, he has to put up with your trauma, your triggers, your baggage. I can honestly say if there's one thing that I'm learning in marriage, it's to pick my battles, because not everything is worth bickering about. Will this matter in the next 5 minutes? Will this matter tomorrow? Will this matter in a year? Okay, if not, then why am I gonna argue about it? Our mothers and fathers and grandparents weren't weak because they decided to put up with ish. They were resilient, and they saw that marriage sometimes takes sacrifice. They saw the bigger picture and didn't want to break up a happy home because of something that was easily forgivable. And of course, not everything is easily forgivable, but when you really love someone, you're willing to look past certain things. It's not because they're afraid to be alone, but because they see the bigger picture. And it doesn't mean that you can't have standards or drawbacks. It's just you learn to communicate through it all. I mean, you're both still learning each other. As the years go by, we're constantly changing. The person that you married years ago is not the person that you're going to be married to today. And that's okay. We need to give each other the grace to grow and just be patient with each other more. But yeah, if you're watching this and this is not something that you want to do, marriage, then it's okay. Don't get married. But don't speak down to the sacred union because you're not willing to go to the hardships and trials that come with it.
Women just putting up with shit. That's all it is.
If you haven't watched this video, you need to go back and watch this. Now, personally, in my own family, I don't have many that have stayed married this long, but I've seen it externally. I've seen it in my ex-boyfriend's family, etc. And I'm just like, wow, that's so amazing. But when you really dig deeper, you realize that it's the women that have put up with a lot of shit. And I'm going to take it up the notch just a little bit further. Most of the men don't really start acting right until their friend stops working or functioning how it used to, or their image has changed and they no longer perceive themselves to be as attractive as they were when they were younger. And I'm sorry to say, but that is not a prize to me. And the funny thing is that most cultures, like Kevin Samuels would talk junk about black women, right? And how other cultures are taught to be more submissive, etc. Those are the ones who have to experience or deal with a lot of these guys' crap just to stay married and to keep the family together. When in all reality, a lot of those women have been miserable for years, sacrificing their joy, their happiness for this relationship. And I'm sorry, but most black women are not going to put up with the shit. Yes, be forgiving. Yes, communication is necessary. Yes, we all require work. But my job is not to raise a man into a man.
You either gonna have standards or you gonna have a man. But you ain't gonna have both.
When I was younger, and I used to see people in my family, or just people in general.
This is one of the saddest half-truths I have heard and seen in a very long time. And I call it a half-truth because for a lot of people, this is true. For a lot of people, the reason why their relationships are successful is because they're merely putting up with someone's mess, right? But there are many of us out here who are in happy relationships and happy marriages that are not just putting up with stuff. We're not just dealing with whatever our spouse hands us, and we're very fulfilled. It takes a lot of work, though. And that's the reality. It's not that people are just out here putting up with people's crap. It's that they don't want to do the work. They don't want to do the work to find the right partner. They don't want to do the work to strengthen their relationship. They don't want to do the work to strengthen themselves. They don't want to do the work to challenge their partner to be the best versions of themselves. They don't want to do the work to challenge themselves to be the best version of themselves. They don't want to do the work. And so, yes, when you don't want to do the work, you are stuck in a situation where you're having to say, you know what, I forgive you. You know what, sure. You know what, I'll let it slide. And that's your relationship, and that's okay. There's also a lot of people out there who say, you know what, I'm not putting up with anything and I'm out. And while that may work for some people, you're not giving the person the opportunity to learn what it is that you will and won't tolerate. You're not giving the person the opportunity to grow with you. And you don't have to. You don't. But for me, I'm always going to give my husband a chance to grow and to learn. And he's always given me the chance to grow and to learn. Have we hurt each other? Yes. Have my siblings and I hurt each other? Yes. Have my parents and I hurt each other? Yes. I've had some professors that have hurt my feelings. Are you kidding me? Like, that's the nature of being in a relationship. How many of you out there have brothers and sisters that have never pissed you off, that you've never had an argument or disagreement with? How many of you out there have had parents that have never disappointed you? Like, disappointment is natural in a relationship. It's going to happen. But make that an opportunity to learn. Make that an opportunity to grow instead of just throwing in the towel and casting people aside. More importantly, learn how to grow yourself and then teach the people in your life how to grow with you. So that way you all can be better and you don't have to put up with anybody's crap.
Women just putting up with shit. That's all it is. When you...
I have so much to say, I don't know where to start. I agree that back in the day, our grandparents or whoever, they used to deal with some bullshit. They used to put up with some bullshit. Listen, as long as those bills were paid and that man made a home for dinner, they didn't give a fuck. However, I give a fuck. I'll start here. A lot of women like to play victim. I've been dealing with this. I've been dealing with that. I deal with this. I deal with that. You don't have to. That is a choice. You know what else is a choice? The men that you choose is a choice. The men that you choose is also a choice. You know what's also a choice? To work on yourself. Because if you keep attracting the same type of man that you don't want, there's something wrong with you. There's something within yourself that you need to work on. Maybe it's your boundaries. Maybe it's your standards. Maybe you just need some self-love. Maybe you need to heal. I don't know, but as a healed woman who knows her worth, I'm not dealing with, Y'all cannot blame these men for everything. Yes, they can choose to do that, but you can choose to stay as well. You think I'm about to stay with a man after he done did some bullshit that showed me he didn't care about me? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not even gonna say anything else.
Women just putting up with shit. That's all it is.
The most heartbreaking thing about adulthood is realizing how common this is. And for me, that meant realizing that I was really privileged in the upbringing that I had and in the example that I had of my parents, because I had two parents who equally contributed towards making a relationship work, who equally parented, who equally cleaned and cooked and earned an income. There was never a disparity in the roles that they had. There were never any traditional gender norms in the house that I grew up in. And I had two parents that both actively participated in making a relationship work. And so when I became an adult, I expected that that was the norm, because that was all that I knew. And it wasn't until I got older and started dating myself and had friends in similar situations that I realized so many relationships or people in relationships stay together just because there is an extremely high tolerance for bullshit. And I get it, because historically women have only been able to truly, genuinely earn an income for ourselves for like the last maybe 70, 80 years. So prior to that, if the only way to survive and to live is to rely on a man to do that traditionally, then you do have to build up a tolerance for bullshit. But in 2023, it's pissing me off that the world hasn't evolved in the same way. And there's almost this unspoken rule that, like, in order to have a long-lasting, healthy relationship, there needs to be some kind of suffering involved. And if that means getting through infidelity, or if that means noticing that your partner is behaving in ways on social media that make you uncomfortable, but you just deal with it because that's what you have to do for the sake of the relationship, it's bullshit. Like, that's tolerating shit that you don't deserve. And I think many of us, myself included, are at a point where we would rather be single for the rest of our lives than tolerate bullshit and drop our standards for the sake of a relationship. The levels to which you are willing to suffer do not determine how worthy you are of love and respect and of the bare minimum. And if you're ever made to feel like the success of your relationship is dependent on the amount of bullshit that you're able to tolerate, and that if you don't tolerate it, it's your fault if the relationship falls apart, you deserve better.
What held marriages together for that long was true love. And of course, communication, understanding, sacrifice, all those things. Bullshit. Let me tell y'all what really holds marriages together. Bullshit. Women just putting up with shit.
That's my problem.
That's all it is.
I'm going to be 100% honest with y'all. I was all for this video until she made it a one-sided conversation. Once she made it seem like it's just because of the men and only men can do wrong, now I'm going to have a problem. Because her general idea is not wrong. Once you start to really talk to your grandparents or talk to the family members, and you know the dirt in your family, what your grandparents was doing, like what your grandpa was doing, or what your grandma might have done, you'll understand that they've been dealing with the same things that we're dealing with in today's age, but we vocalize it a lot more. You know how they used to say, you need to stay out of grown folks' business? That's the grown folks' business that they didn't want to tell us at Thanksgiving when we were sitting at the kids' table. I'm not saying men don't put women through things, because they do. But we love to leave out the fact that women be on BS too out here. Women put men through hardships just as well. But like she said, the only part that I'm okay with is once you know the reality of these relationships that is 20, 30, 40 years strong, you are going to realize in some of them, they fought through infidelity. They fought through someone flirting with another. There are things you don't know, but please don't make it a one-sided conversation.
You either gonna have standards or you gonna have a man. But you ain't gonna have.
But can we talk about this? Okay. When I was younger, after I observed relationships that were long-term around me, that developed commitment issues within me. Watch what this other girl has to say about it.
Let me tell y'all what really holds marriages together. Women just putting up with shit. That's all it is. When you understand that all it takes to keep a man is for you to constantly be forgiving bullshit and constantly be like, oh, okay, I don't want to lose him, so I'm gonna forgive this, I'm gonna forgive that. That's all a long marriage is.
This is definitely what I saw demonstrated in long-term relationships when I was younger. A lot of overlooking things, But it took for me to get older that, you know, to understand that people are human. But what are your thoughts?
So that was the long one. It was the long compilation of different people's opinion. Now, I'm going to say this. I agree with the creator who said the secret to a lot of the long marriages are because of women putting up with a lot of BS from their husbands. I agree with it and I disagree. Now, based on the kind of culture I come from, it looks like, if you look at a lot of the marriages that are long, it looks like it's the women that are putting up with a lot of BS, because in our culture, in my culture, it's like a woman's value is based on the fact that she's married or something like that. So a lot of women would not want to step out of their marriage if they are not happy. They will just say, let me stay, because what will people say? So you get a lot of people staying in those marriages, and for the first 10-20 years you find out that it's a lot of forgiving, a lot of nonsense that has been done, that the woman will look away, and it's now later, or maybe 40 years, when the man is older and children have grown up and everything, that you might even see a little bit of maybe a happy marriage because they're older, they don't want to be alone. But the thing is, I won't say it doesn't happen. It happens a lot. That reason that she said is the reason why a lot of people stay married for a long time. Like, they will have to endure infidelity, cheating, even the husband having children outside the marriage, beating, all sorts of nonsense, and just because what will people say. But I also disagree, because I know that she kind of said like it's just the men that usually have problems. I feel like marriage, I'm single, but I feel like in marriage you have to bear each other's BS, because nobody's perfect. There is no human being that doesn't have issue. You have issue, I have issue. Everybody has issue. But you have to be able to bear each other's issue. And like some of the creators said, you have to be able to grow. You have to give chances for other people to grow. Communication is key. Being able to listen is key. Being able to take correction is key. Some people don't want to even be corrected in any way, but the way you correct somebody is also key. I know that there are a lot of marriages that are long and are happy, and in those marriages, like some of the people that are married and replied, the first creator said, they have to give chance and give room for learning, give room for improvement, also self-improvement. And they are right. The way I was in my 20s is not the way I am in my 30s. Like, there's a difference. And something they also mentioned, some of them mentioned, that choosing your partner also depends on you, is also a reflection of you, and it's true. The way I thought about choosing a partner in my 20s is different from the way I think about choosing a partner in my 30s, because I have grown. I've seen some errors in the way I was thinking. So the things I would look for in a partner is so much different than that time when I was younger. What I'm saying is that, yes, we have to put up with bullshit in marriage, but it's not just one side. It's both-sided. You have to learn to put up with bullshit. Even like someone mentioned that if you're at work too, you have to put up with bullshit. It's true. You would still work with the person. You will still have a relationship with the person. You would not say, oh, I'm leaving because of this person. You're going to try and communicate. You're going to try and find out how to solve issues. And they also made sense in saying in marriage there's conflict resolution, and it's true. I never really thought about that, but it's true. You need conflict resolution skills in marriage. You need communication skills. You need team building skills, because it's not easy to live with a human being for a long time. Me, I know that I have problem. I know I have problem. So my partner does not realize that I have problem and he needs to find a way to navigate my problem, and I need to find a way to navigate his problem. We go get problem. So basically, my thoughts are she's right and she's wrong. So that is my own opinion about the whole issue. I would love to hear your thoughts about this issue. Do you think she's right? Do you think she's wrong? Do you think that both parties, men and women, put up with BS and that is why they have long marriages? Which one of the creators said something that struck a chord with you? I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to read your comments. So please leave your comments in the comment section. I will be checking it out. I read most of my comments and most of the time I reply. So please leave your comments in the comment section. Let's get this conversation popping. Let's learn from each other. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are not yet subscribed but you like videos such as this, please consider subscribing by clicking on the red button that says subscribe. And don't forget to click on the bell notification icon by the side so that you're notified anytime I upload videos. Now, with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.